Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm just doing a video today. This is kind of about a lot of what I talk about on this channel lately, and that's like the gender stuff that I talk about, and just kind of a clarification on what I believe or what I really think about this stuff, because like people probably wonder what specifically I buy into as far as all this stuff goes. And for one, I'm going to say, just to kind of clarify things, that's why I'm doing this video. I believe people can do whatever the hell they want. And I think people should have their own freedom to do what they choose. And freedom of choice is very important to me. I basically consider myself very much a civil and social libertarian. Not necessarily everything politically I'm libertarian about, but I really do believe people should have the choice. Now, as far as like some of the other stuff, like nature versus nurture, and I think this is where maybe some of my ideas get a little convoluted to other people. I definitely believe that there's no consensus as far as what really is going on with that at any given time at this point in our existence. So, give you an example, like this whole thing with hunter-gatherers that's come about like the last 10, 15 years, like, oh, hunter-gatherers were all polyamorous, and they had no gender and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I know for a fact, like if you watch certain videos, I think her name is Greta Aurora, she talks about this a little bit. It's like, well, we can say that we don't know how things went down in the old days. There's been so much different information coming out. Dawkins, Richard Dawkins, or people like that may say this is how humans evolved, or, Steven Pinker, or going back to, some of the evolutionary theories early on in the 1800s and stuff. Charles Darwin, for example, like, we can say that, this is part of how that all evolved, everyone evolved and everything. Like, it was more nature, or, but this nurture thing definitely comes from a more socially and politically progressive side. But do I think that that's correct, as in like looking at how things developed? I'm trying to get out of the sun. I got some really bad sunburn too, like a couple weeks back, because I went to this baseball game. But so the thing is that why do we have to choose one or the other? Why can't it be a mixture of both, depending on certain situations and certain things that have happened? Like, I was just reading an article the other day where they said a lot of the reason for monogamy with, some of the pair bonding that developed may have been because of STDs, of all things. People were afraid of, syphilis as an early human or something like that, so you decided to become monogamous or something like that. I don't know, there's a lot of different theories that go around. So how does this relate to what I think of my own life? Well, I think I think there is such thing as biological sex. I think gender expression differs by the person, but I think that for the most part, the majority of people are follow their sex as far as their gender goes, in my opinion. Now, there are people that doesn't happen, and that's their choice to express it the way they want to. I don't think it's like, and to ask the question if it's nature or nurture, like, oh, can they go to conversion therapy or whatever? It's like, that's, the irony of the whole conversion therapy thing that happened a lot in the 80s and 90s with people that were gay and stuff, with these Christians trying to push that on people, was that comes from way more of a nurture idea. Like, oh, the gay was like put into them, they weren't. It's like, the irony is that they were more social constructionist, probably more than a lot of people on the left now, these people on the right wing back then, in a certain way. if you think about it. So I think people should choose the way they want. Now, as far as what they want, now we can study these things, and I think they should be studied. Like I've thought before, well, maybe there is something that's happening right now with all these people coming forward as these different kind of expressions of gender. Maybe is it bad or good? I don't know. It's not. It's neither. Depends on what you're talking about. But is there something in the food or the water or the air, the plastics or whatever, or is there like the infamous Alex Jones frogs thing, is there something in there? I don't know. Or is it just they were already there and they were in the closet or whatever? I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't think we need to explore those ideas at all. I think we just have to accept that people are going to be different, and people are going to want tradition too. Some people. As for me, how do I see things? Well, in relationships, I like it to be equal. I'm not some kind of, even though I'm into some of these scenes and stuff, these manosphere scenes, I'm not one of those guys that's well, I'm gonna get an Asian, mail order bride because they're more subservient to men. Some of these MGTOW and red pill incel guys. I'm not into that shit. I like someone that's equal to me, equal but different. That's the way I see it. As people, men and women, just a normal cisgendered kind of thing. They're equal but different. Now, I think different things attract, different, the different genders or the different sexes. That's where I come into a little bit of controversy, because I think that approaching this whole subject, I think sometimes attraction is a skill. I've thought that since, I read Neil Strauss back in the day. I think attraction is a skill that you can develop, and that's a very controversial thing. I'm going to go more into that now that I realize in more videos in the future. But I don't think what men and women want are the same as far as the traditional cisgendered types. I don't think it's necessarily the case. I think there's definitely different energy, I want to call it energy or vibe, there's this book called Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. Talks about this stuff. It's kind of new agey and woo, but it's kind of what I see things as, and people have different different amounts of passivity or assertiveness, and sometimes that is sort of a gendered type of thing, and that's maybe where the controversy comes in, because I do think of things as traditionally one gender or another sometimes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, in my life, in my world, in my circle, what works for me may not work for another person. Actually, it hasn't worked lately, unfortunately, but I haven't really done much about it lately. So, if you know what I mean. But I'm just saying, what works, as far as how I view things in the world, for me, may not work for everybody else. But to push, that I'm some type of sexist or misogynist or, exploiter, whatever you want to call it, that is disingenuous to my actual beliefs of relationships, where I do not think of a women in a subservient role at all. Now, I don't think of them in a domineering role either. See, that's why people get confused, because I talk about certain parts of my upbringing where I saw men that were very much, I don't know, I want to say the word abused, but pushed by women in a certain way, and they were very weak. But it doesn't mean that I haven't seen the other way around too, which I don't like as well. I like a little bit more equality, equanimity, whatever you want to call it. Just that's what I like. It's there's an equality that I like, an equal share in a relationship. Now, I've had relationships where a woman was more passive and played that role, subservient role, and I was kind of turned off in certain ways. Now, that's very controversial in the manosphere too. Now, that said, I also don't like the other way around either. So I like a little bit more of a middle ground with that. Now, some people might operate better in a more assertive role in a relationship. They might, it's kind of like sub and dom kind of thing, and cisgendered men and women might have that kind of thing, and that's fine. That's what they want. But if a woman's like too passive for me, I'm turned off, and I've had that before. Now, I've never really had a really domineering woman or anything like that, but it's just like some habits, old habits die hard with me. Sometimes being indecisive at times has not been the best thing, and having a more assertive woman that plans stuff out and shit, and I can do my own thing, kind of thing. Maybe I get that from my upbringing too, but that's sometimes a thing with me. So, but I'm not going to criticize myself for being some kind of wuss or something, because I don't believe in that aspect. I don't believe that aspect is necessarily problematic if it's balanced out with other things, is what I'm trying to say. Now, one thing that does bother me is, and this is probably where the most controversial thing comes in, is when men and women are together, or just couples in general, and they can do better, and that includes the superficial aspects. That's where the controversy comes in, because I'm like, oh my God, why is he dating that girl? Like, she is like totally like, and I hate rating people by number, because to me that's kind of stupid too. Like, I don't like half the 10s of the 90s or the 2000s. I'm like, I'm not really, really think they're that hot, Like, I would probably think Kate Winslet's hotter than like Cameron Diaz or something, or there's like, I think Kirsten Dunst was super hot, but there's some traditional looking women that I've always liked too, but it's like, who was the hottest? Alicia Witt, back in the day, like when I saw her, I thought she was really hot too. There's a lot of different types of women. Even Tori Amos I liked a lot back in the day. I don't know. People's tastes change, like, as far as looks go, but aesthetics and looks, like, for example, like if someone's dating someone that's like, they're definitely like higher on the scale than their wife, and you think that there's something just kind of nefarious going on, and there's this vibe, this sense, and it's not really like necessarily all couples. Like, I don't think every couple that has a woman's 400 pounds and the guy's like a 170, or the other way around too. I don't think that's necessarily like an indication of some type of character flaw on the part of one of the spouses or one of the partners in the relationship. I just think in certain situations where I've observed, there have been people that that they're not with that person with the best of intentions, meaning they have problems that are preventing them from getting someone more matched to them or hotter, and that's where my controversial part comes in. The first controversial part of my point of view, because I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, how can you do this to yourself? It more often than not, it has to do with, and you could say, well, maybe I'm too superficial. Well, that's just the way I fucking think, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Whoa, shit. I'm not going to apologize for what I think about this subject, because I've seen it far too often and I grew up with environments like this where, honestly, like a person is like low self-esteem, and they're getting these like scuzzy dudes coming over that are drug addicts or alcoholics, and they're not the most good-looking guys either, or vice versa, or whatever. So it's like settling, the word settling. People don't like that word because they think it's an affront to them when I talk about that stuff. Like certain people in my life that, oh my God, why are you saying that? Why do you say that about them? Oh my God, it's so terrible. And I just, to me, it's like taking the red pill, not being red pilled. Taking the red pill is originally called, like, learning about game and all that stuff, like reading the game, the book, like the way that he goes about like talking about these things. Like I identified with that. Like not a lot of times, but sometimes, I would get into some situation where I know that I didn't feel 100% about it, but they were there. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. But I think millions, maybe billions of people are married in those situations. And people wonder why there are divorces. So I believe in the power of choice. I believe the more choice you have with with a choice of partners, you give the choice, and that's, if you choose someone based on a lot of different factors, not just looks, but just in general, if you actually make that choice yourself to some extent. Obviously with men, women do the choosing in a certain way. That's always going to be with cis heterosexual men. I mean, that's how it works, But as far as like, with regards to like, what I'm trying to say is like, there's a spectrum, but the closer you are past the middle to the other side of having choice, the more a relationship to me is valuable and seems to be valued by the people that are in it. Because, one of my friends, he met a woman out smoking outside of a convenience store. He didn't meet her online. He wasn't like, I met this guy like that was doing speed dating once. I remember this guy. He was like, or I knew this. I don't know if I met this guy like at a bar, and he's like talking. He shows me his wife. I'm like, and he's like this IT guy. I'm like, he met her on like one of those like really advanced online dating things, like matchmaker kind of things. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm just like, you can just tell by his tone of voice and who he was that this was desperation in this situation. So I get bothered by that. I really do. I mean, it bothers me like to see people with and you just tell the person doesn't take care of themselves, for fuck's sake. I know I've talked about that before more recently, but that's a friend of mine not taking care of themselves. But like, as far as the whole notion of like choice, so that's a controversial thing. Now, that's a second controversial thing about my point of view. Second controversial based point of view that I have has to do with age, and this is probably more controversial in a certain way. I didn't have a lot of experience growing up or in my much of my adult life. It's only like the last 10 years or so that I've had way more experience, that with women and stuff and relationships. So I feel like I'm a late bloomer. I didn't get to go and, go to frat parties and have one night stands and all that stuff that people did, or some people did. I didn't have that kind of life, So also, I'm very much into youthful vibe, I guess you'd say. Like, this used to be totally like anathema to me, because like my first girlfriend was stolen from me by a much older man back when I was 24 and she was 19. He was like 38 or 40 or something, and I was like so pissed. And he was very manipulative, and he was an asshole, but he was like the stereotypical like older guy, like being a dick as far as that stuff goes. Now, I don't feel like I'm super old, and I don't feel like my age. So yeah, I tend to, by default, look at biologically, evolutionarily younger women and try to go after younger women. That doesn't mean that I won't date someone that's 37 or 44 or whatever. It doesn't mean that. It just happens to be there's more out there. And what am I going to do? If I'm walking down the street and I see like a woman that's like a certain age, and she just doesn't have the vibe that I like, it's hard to explain, but it's just like there's just more available too. I mean, I'm not trying to fucking make excuses anymore for this, because it's just the way it is. But I mean, and there are, like I said, there's older women that I like, and a lot of times it's online dating that's really jaded me too, because you'll go on a date with someone that's like older, and they'll be cat or kitten fishing a lot in a very more this kind of disturbing way. I'll just say that, because I've had some experiences. Not that I haven't been catfished or kidney fished by younger women either, because, you know, I have been. But it's like a woman that's like on an online dating site that's already has, you know, they're not getting, you know, in a way it's like they're not getting what they want from guys or whatever. Like, especially back when I was really doing it heavily, like a few years ago when I was doing it way more, I'd have these dates and I'd go on the date. Like, let's say the woman was older, you know, more closer to my age or whatever. And it just would be like, it would be a mess because I'd want to leave because I'm like, no, this is unacceptable. I'm not attracted to this woman. She reminds me of like my my worse than HR lady. Actually, my never mind. She's not that bad. I'm just saying like an older, like middle-aged, like mom that's doesn't really have much going for him. I just have higher standards, and maybe I shouldn't, you know, being who I am, but whatever, you know. And so the age thing, you know, it's controversial because people are threatened by it. It doesn't mean that I just want it. I mean, yeah, maybe I do go after it consciously. I think it's just I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. Because, you know, I might want to have my own biological children and stuff like that, but it's more just the vibe. It's like the vibe. I mean, if you look around here, it's you know, the vibe is like a 20-something. It's just the truth. There's all these like metal posters that got criticized by that girl on OkCupid for that. You know, I'm a kid, and I'm not a kid like I'm a kid, but you know, kid like 20-something, 30-something kid. You know, early 30s maybe. You know, that's how it is. That's how I roll. How I roll. Ugh, I hate that term. But anyways, I just said it. like the Jeff Tate Latter Day Queensryche song. This is how we roll, or whatever, or about you, or the song about YouTube. Pretty terrible. Off of, never mind. I'm just blabbing about that shit. But yeah, I'm different than most people as far as my hobbies and as far as what I'm interested in. And this is another reason, because my lifestyle definitely is not my age. It's definitely not normal for my age. I don't really go out that much lately, but you know, like in the past and probably in the coming days, because you know one of the things was all the shit, you know, the last 2 years. I was just like, I'd gotten used to kind of being indoors and stuff, and like not going to bars because you couldn't go to a bar, or if you did, you'd have to do certain things that I didn't like. So, especially around here, you know? So not that everybody followed that, but so I mean, I like going out to a bar or a coffee shop and talking and blabbing about shit, you know, going to a bar. And I don't really drink that much, but I just like the environment, the atmosphere of that. And that's not like a 40-something or 50-something thing a lot of the time. It's more like, oh yeah, I gotta work my job, and then I'll go meet you at the bar, and then my kids have like a game tomorrow, so I have to get up early. Well, I'm single and I don't have any children, so what the fuck are you know, I just have a younger energy that I feel. I can't explain it exactly, but it's like, I don't even believe that I'm the age I'm at. You know? I mean, some of the youth is getting more and more alienated from me because of some of the stuff they're into lately. I'm sounding more and more like a boomer or something, but like some of the shit they're into lately is just like, yeah, what, you know? But overall, I still feel like I'm younger, you know, youngerish. So that's kind of one of the things. And I think that's really controversial to people, and like, oh my God, you're the power dynamics, and you're so terrible. What if you're a kid? If you're a kid at 50, you'll be 68 when they graduate high school. You're so selfish. You're selfish. You're selfish. Okay, that's fine. And you probably called me selfish when I didn't wear a mask every fucking minute of the day, you know, the last 2 years, right? You probably called me selfish when I did this or that. You fucking buy phones with cobalt that's mined by slaves. Who the fuck are you to tell me that I'm selfish or I shouldn't be doing this or that, you know? I'm not saying that I'm going to do all that. I'm just saying, you know, I'm just saying that that's how I feel. That's how when you're getting into like if you're trying to get better with women too, how are you going to do that? Are you going to do that only by carding everybody to make sure they're above 38 or whatever? What's half my age plus 7? Let's see. They're all above the age of 29. Oh my God, you know, I mean, or whatever. It's just, it's really stupid. You could have done the math there, anyways. But I don't even want to go there. But you could have done the math right now by me saying that and know what age I am. Yeah, I'm not gonna like card women walking down the street and ask them if they're age appropriate for me, unless they're obviously underage or something, you know. I'm not gonna fucking do it. I'm not gonna, oh my God, she's 25. It could never work. Well, it probably won't work because most things don't work. And, you know, and when you're that age, you probably don't know what you want anyways. So it'll just be a little fun for 6 to 8 months probably, right? At the most, if you get in a relationship. Well, who cares? What about the times in my 20s when I was all alone? Which was most of them, except for like a 2-year period in my mid-20s. I was, you know, it's like, how do you make up for that? How do you make up for being alone most of your life and just like getting into your own fantasy world and all this shit? You know, it's like, oh yeah, you have to immediately just jump to a professional 40-something woman that already has kids in high school or graduated. Matt, you just have to do that. Just get someone your own age. You can't date. It's so problematic dating younger women. Is like, oh my God. So those are the two things that I think. It's just for myself. So as far as everybody else goes, how I see it is that, you know, there's problems obviously with someone that's like younger and going out with an older person or whatever. And I think there's a limit. Like, I don't really want to go beyond like 10 to 15 years, maybe, or maybe even, you know, 20. Maybe, it depends, just for a fling or for rolling the hay or whatever, that's fine. But as far as anything serious, I'd have questions about that, just because I feel like I'm, as white knighty as this might sound, like I'm kind of taking something from them if I actually have them be with me for years and years. That doesn't mean it can't work. So I'd probably be better off with a woman that's like kind of experienced for her age, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I've already had 5 boyfriends and did 4 gangbangs. And see, that's another thing that is kind of like me. Like with me, I believe I'm a very forgiving person as far as like experience and stuff goes. It's like a lot of guys would be like, oh, you shouldn't, like these pickup guys is like, I would never be with a woman that was with 100 men. I'm like, well, I probably wouldn't, especially the experiences I've had with women that have had a reputation in the past, which have been multiple ones that I've been with probably. And that makes you feel like shit because it's like, why are they with me then? And am I just another flip, you know, notch on the bedpost? But you know, it's like, I'm not going to judge a woman for her past or for what she wants to do with me now. That's just the way it goes. So I probably prefer someone that has a little experience. You know, I'm not one of the Al Qaeda guys that's like, if they even existed, I don't know. You know, sometimes I wonder. I'm not like, oh, I gotta die and like be with 1,000 virgins or something. It's like, to me, that turns me off. Actually, you know, that turns me off. It always did. Like, I never wanted to be with ever since I never wanted to be with a virgin after I was not a virgin, I should say. You know, necessarily. Well, I don't know. It's like you question someone that's like, let's say there was someone that's like 40 years old and they're a virgin, or they're 35 or 25 even. It's like, well, there's something not right, you know, with them in a way. Like there's something that might be flawed about them if they're a virgin, you know. By that age, maybe not though, you know. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this subject, but you know, I have this mentality that I have to get better in life, you know, and some of that includes some kind of, I have some controversial beliefs in that, you know. I think I want to have fun, And maybe if I meet someone that I really like, I'll go with it, of course, obviously. But if I don't, then I don't. I'll just have fun. And some people are threatened by that too. They're like, oh my God. I grew up with this kind of mentality that relationship is above everything. Like relationships are the only like you can never have anything casual with anybody, or never like it's wrong and exploitative to have anything else with people. It's like some people aren't even, I mean, what about the woman's decision? Maybe she wants something. And there's a controversial belief too here, which kind of has come about more recently, that, well, it is an equal footing that you have with someone, the other person, because, well, it's actually unequal, because this might be where people think I'm misogynist a little bit, but women have more, I think let's just at this juncture in our civilization, our society, they have more choice than men for partners and stuff. So feeling bad about things being too casual, or trying to go for too many casual things, which I don't really want to go after anything. I just want to go after the thing in the first place. I want to cross that bridge when I get there. But thinking about things like in a guilt complex about, oh my God, what if I hurt them because I don't want to be serious? Oh my God. Well, they have a lot of choices, I don't, I don't have choices. I used to have more choices, but, I don't have a lot of choices. I have shit for choices. So I have to fight for choices. I have to fight for, to get things going, which is another thing that's controversial about me and my views on this stuff, because like people believe it should just be fated and you just meet someone. Like, I think a lot of, especially I'll just say women think this, like that's why they're threatened by like dating advice for men and like pickup artist stuff, and all that shit, because they think it should just be this natural flowing thing. But if you grew up and that was interrupted by various things, whether it be mental illness or autism or whatever, then what are you going to do? What do you do for those men? Or, men. Yeah, men. I was going to say men. What are you going to do for those? You're going to like teach them to be more attractive. How do you do that? Do you tell them to go out and hand their number to a bunch of women? I don't think so. I don't think that would work. I don't think that works. There's this guy on YouTube that's said that. You don't do that. You're not going to get results from that. You have to, and sometimes you have to become what you want to be. Sometimes you have to adopt different behaviors that threaten your identity. And this notion that a person is set in their identity for their life is a very, ironically, very conservative notion. Very, how should I put it? Very, very very much about, nature. It's very much about nature. Like, oh, you're born this way, right? And that's the irony, is like a lot of the people on the left that are threatened by pickup or seduction or men's dating advice or whatever are like, just be yourself. You have your core self that you have to be. And, well, I thought you were the one that says everything's socially constructed. Beats me that why you're questioning this stuff. So, yeah, so that's kind of like how I feel about things right now, especially. I'm not going to back down from being who I am, If I meet someone that like I said, if I meet someone that I really like, and if they happen to be closer to my age, that's good, Most that I meet in regular life, I'm just not attracted to. There's someone that I know right now that's actually older that I find pretty attractive. That's ironic, but it's true. So who knows? I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to like try to stem my desires or beliefs for society and what they want. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm just going to be proper and only date women 38 and up, 35 and up. That's what I have to do. Because otherwise I'm a problematic edgelord alt-right Nazi. Yes, sir, B. No, I'm not going to fucking do that. I'm going to do what I want. That's what I do. So that's about all. Speaking of alt-right, peace out.